are the two very important parasites in protozoa, and protozoa in modern classification it is considered as, is it phyla, is it kingdom or subkingdom? What is the taxonomic position of protozoa? Who can tell? Protozoa is considered as subkingdom according to the latest classification of Levine et al. 1980. So, Leishmania, as you know, that this genus is named after a scientist, Leishman. Complete name is William Leishman. William Leishman actually discovered the flagellate, this flagellate Leishmania, which caused the disease in human being known as Kala-Azar, and this disease is known as Indian visceral leishmaniasis. And this disease was discovered in India, a place in West Bengal, and the place is Dum Dum. Therefore, it is known as Dum Dum fever. So, it was discovered by Sir William Leishman, and in the honor of the scientist, the genus is named as Leishmania. So, this parasite, these are obligate intracellular parasite. It means that it lives inside the infective cell, and since of a special system known as reticuloendothelial system. And there are two hosts in the life cycle, as you know. Here you can see one is mammalian host, that is vertebrate host, and the second is insect vector. So primary host is vertebrate host or mammalian host, and secondary host or intermediate host, what you can say, vector sandfly, that is female sandfly, Phlebotomus. And this parasite multiply within some important cells of defense system, and these cells are macrophages, and these cells actually in these cells they can multiply inside it, because parasite is intracellular, so it will multiply inside the cell, and these cells are macrophages. And in the vertebrate host, this parasite occurs in amastigot stage. Amastigot stage having an ovoid body is oval shape. But in sandfly, the second form of the second stage of the parasite, that is promastigot. So in invertebrate host, promastigot stage is there, and in vertebrate host, amastigot stage is there. It is found in vertebrate host. So geographical distribution, as you can see in the map, that this parasite, it is very common in tropics and subtropics countries, just like our India, and it extends Central and South America, Central and Southeast Asia, India, China, Mediterranean region, and Africa. So these all regions are, these are the geographically, where the parasite is geographically distributed in tropics and subtropic region of the world. Now there are three species which causes this disease. First is disease is visceral leishmaniasis. Here it is caused by Leishmania donovani complex, and where it infects the internal organ, for example liver, spleen, bone marrow. Second, cutaneous leishmaniasis, and cutaneous leishmaniasis is caused by Leishmania tropica complex. For example, Leishmania aethiopica, Leishmania major, and Leishmania mexicana complex. Third one is third type of leishmaniasis, mucocutaneous leishmaniasis, and it is caused by Leishmania brasiliensis complex. So you can see in the flow chart that Leishmania, this parasite causes two types of disease. Old word is leishmaniasis and new word leishmaniasis. Old word is further divided into two types. Visceral leishmaniasis, that is kala jala, caused by Leishmania donovani complex, and cutaneous leishmaniasis caused by Leishmania tropica complex. Now new word leishmaniasis is further divided into visceral leishmaniasis, and on the corner side you can see cutaneous leishmaniasis, and it is caused by Leishmania mexicana complex or brasiliensis complex. So these are the three different species. So now you can see that old word leishmaniasis. I identify this slide, that picture. What is the name of this fly? Phlebotomous, sand fly. Sand fly, because sand fly act as the vector of leishmaniasis. इंडिया में अभी भी बहुत सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं जो कि इस कालाजार को एरेडिकेट करने के लिए अभी they are running in several research institute. For example, your important institute in Lucknow, CDRI, Central Drug Research Institute. फाइलेरिया का प्रोजेक्ट है, मलेरिया का है, एंड इवन कालाजार. So Leishmania donovani, as you know, that it causes visceral leishmaniasis known as Kala-Azar, and it also causes a condition known as PKDL, that is post Kala-Azar dermal leishmaniasis. Acronym is PKDL. If you can see history and distribution, then first of all William Leishman in 1900 discovered it in India, known as Dum-Dum fever in Dum-Dum, Calcutta. Right? Donovan reported the same parasite in the spleen smear of patient from Madras. So maximum research took place in India. Parasite itself, it was discovered in India. And you can see that these amastigot form of the parasite is also known as Leishman-Donovan body, that is LD body, amastigot state. And you know, in India, 31 district in Bihar, 11 district in West Bengal, 5 district in Jharkhand, 3 district in UP. They are highly affected with this parasite, that is Leishman. Especially Kala-Azar visceral leishmaniasis caused by Leishmania donovani complex. Right? So habitat is there. You can see that amastigot is found in the vertebrate host. So that LD body it is found in the reticuloendothelial system. Mostly found it is macrophages in spleen, liver, bone marrow, and but it can be less often found in the skin, intestinal mucosa, and lymph nodes. Morphology, if you can see here, this is amastigot stage, where you can see that it is found in the human and other mammals. And what you are, you can observe here that the flagella, it is ovoid or rounded cell, amastigot stage, and you can see it is intracellular. It is found inside the macrophage, and it has very short flagellum, or it is absent. It is restricted within the cytoplasm. A small vacuole is there, blepharoplast, from which a very small flagellum arises from this small tiny granule, and but it does not arise from the body. It remains restricted within the cytoplasm, and just below it there is a parabasal body, and nucleus is there. This is the structure of LD body, that is A mastigot. Now promastigot on the right side, B diagram. Here what you can see, that the blepharoplast nucleus in the center, and blepharoplast is much anterior of the parasite. That is, it is present toward the anterior end of the parasite. Just below it there is a parabasal body. So there is a distance between parabasal body and nucleus is the center of the this stage, and the more or less this stage is you can see spindle shape, not oval. So this is the promastigot stage found in the sandfly invertebrate host. Now life cycle, this is very important, and you can see that capitative host, man, dog and other mammals, and vector, sandfly, phlebotomous species, and mode of transmission is there, bite of the sandfly. Life cycle starts with the biting of the sandfly, female sandfly, and it can also be transmitted from mother to fetus by blood transfusion and accidental inoculation in laboratory. So there are chances of infection in the laboratory. Incubation period 2 to 6 months, right? So can you define what is the incubation period? Means entry. Yes, you can see.
When it injected inside the body of the host.
It is incubation period. I am telling about the period. That is a particular slot. Yes. So
from introduction to when it was released
and
when it caused disease.
when it causes disease, it means that entry of the parasite inside the body and appearance of the first symptoms. So that time is known as incubation period. So it is 2 to 6 months, and you can see here that man and other vertebrate hosts, they become infected by the bite of the sandfly, and when sandfly bites, then which form enters in the human being? Which form? That is the amastigot. But in the sandfly there is promastigot in the proboscis, so promastigot will enter inside the human being. But when these forms are they have entered in the body of the human being, then antibodies are produced by the immune system. So parasite is very very smart. This promastigot stage is transformed into amastigot form to save itself from the effect of the antibodies. So here you can see promastigot transformed to amastigot. Then rupture of the parasitized cells occur, and finally amastigot carried in the circulation, and they invade in the other cells of the reticuloendothelial system. Then again amastigot released into blood and body fluid, and again sandfly takes up amastigot stage, and this amastigot while feeding on the infected host, and amastigot transformed to promastigot stage in the sandfly, in the midgut of the sandfly, and finally they reproduce by the binary fission, and these promastigot migrate to the anterior part of the midgut, that is proboscis part, and it is again fresh host bitten by the this sand fly, and again infection is established. So this is the life cycle of the leishmania. Now pathogenicity. Here you can see the liver of a patient suffering from visceral leishmaniasis. There are, you can see here, many lesions are there, and necrosis is there in the liver, and you know that this disease results from the invasion of reticuloendothelial system. All the cells concerned with the reticuloendothelial system, that is macrophages, neutrophils, eosinophils, these all cells are severely affected by this parasite. And parasites जो macrophages हैं, they disseminate the infection in all parts of the body. And finally, spleen, liver, bone marrow. Here A mastocyte stage multiply, and after their multiplication, they produce a blockade of the reticuloendothelial system, and this leads to marked proliferation and destruction of tissues concerned with the reticuloendothelial system. Right? Next, spleen. Spleen is considered as the mostly affected organ in human being, because this organ is considered as the both. It is used for the production of the RBCs as well as production of the WBCs also. So you can see that the capsule of the organ is thickened, and if you cut the section, then it is red or chocolate in color, and because there is a dilation of vascular spaces, trabeculae are thin, atrophication of the blood vessels take place. Finally, microscopically, you can see that reticular cells are highly, they have great number, and they are loaded with LD bodies, that is Leishman document bodies. Liver, it is enlarged, that is hepatomegaly take place. Kupffer cells, vascular endothelial cells, these are heavily parasitized, right? So liver function actually, but लीवर थोड़ा सा दूसरे टाइप का ऑर्गन है, प्रेशर हम इसको कह सकते हैं, बट इट इज नॉट सीरियसली अफेक्टेड, एंड प्रोथाम्बिक प्रोडक्शन, एंड यू कैन सी दैट सम अदर प्रोडक्शन ऑफ सम इंपॉर्टेंट विटामिन्स, दीज आर अफेक्टेड, बट यू कैन सी नॉट बहुत ज्यादा इसमें नहीं इसका कार्य होता है. बोन मैरो में heavily infiltrated with parasitized macrophages which may crowd and hematopoietic tissues. So these are the important clinical symptoms, and you can see pathogenic stages. Now clinical feature, it begins with a fever, and then splenomegaly, enlargement of the spleen, then finally it is progressive and massive, very fast. Then hepatomegaly is there, lymphoadenopathy, and then skin become dry, darkly pigmented, therefore this disease is known as Kala-Azar. Hair thin, they become thin and brittle, anemic, person become anemic, that is marked anemia is there, and loss of weight is there, weakness is there, bleeding from gums common, very common, and that may occur if it is kept untreated.
Marked anemia. What does it mean by marked anemia?
Marked anemia means clear cut, there is a reduction in the hemoglobin level. Clear cut reduction means what is the normal level of hemoglobin? Maybe 14 to 15 gram, but it decreases 6 or 7. So there is a marked, suddenly drops, the level of the hemoglobin drops, and this is known as marked anemia. Medical there is a medical term now, diagnosis. You can see that how can you diagnose the parasite? So there are direct evidences and indirect evidences. Direct evidences by demonstration of antibodies in the blood, or you can see in the bone marrow tissues is withdrawn, and finally we can detect the presence of these bodies. So this is the direct evidence. Then culture, animal inoculation in certain mice and hamster. This is and serodiagnosis. This is indirect evidence. Serodiagnosis occur through the detection of the antigen for the parasite and then detection of antibody. Indirect evidences are molecular diagnosis through the polymerase chain reaction and DNA probe. Non-specific serum test occurs through some certain important tests such as Chopra antibody test and aldehyde test, skin test by Leishman or Montenegro test, and blood pressure. Because anemia progressive, leukopenia, reverse albumin globin ratio, these are all features are important for the indirect evidence for the diagnosis of Leishmaniasis. Now treatment. These are very important drugs which are effective, and these are given the patient. One is here, there is a drug which is mostly used in Bihar, first line drug. It is known as first line drug, and this is amphotericin B. This drug was used in Bihar for treatment of the Leishmaniasis, that is Kala-Azar. Miltefosine is first oral drug for Leishmaniasis. Now prophylaxis is there, prevention, how will you prevent the parasite, that early detection and treatment, and destruction of animal reservoir hosts. Animal reservoir hosts are, that is those hosts which once when they become infected, then they act as source of infection. Now personal prophylaxis by using anti-sandfly measures. We can use mosquito net, right? Use of gloves in the hand, covered. We can use complete body covering पूरा होना चाहिए, right? तो उससे क्या होगा, sandfly will not bite. Leishmania, another species, that is Leishmania tropica, and it causes cutaneous Leishmaniasis caused by Leishmania tropica, Leishmania major, and Leishmania ethiopica. So it is known as old world cutaneous Leishmaniasis, and also known as oriental sore, because it is concerned with the skin sore, and also known as Delhi boil, Baghdad boil, and in India this disease is restricted to dry western half of the Indo-Gangetic plain, that is the area extending from Amritsar to Kutch and Gujarat, and to east side it is reported from Delhi and Banaras in UP, Uttar Pradesh. Habitat Leishmania tropica, causing the disease cutaneous Leishmaniasis, and this is the parasite of skin. It is found in the skin, and amastigot forms occur in the reticuloendothelial cells of the skin, whereas promastigot forms they can be seen in the sandfly vector. Here you can see this sore, oriental sore. Now life cycle. Life cycle is more or less same as Leishmania donovani, and that vector is different. Vector here is in case of tropica it is Phlebotomus sargentine. In case of Ethiopica, vector is P. longipes, and major vector is P, that is Phlebotomus paparazine. So reservoir, these are reservoir for the rodents and other animals, they act as reservoir. Clinical features, these sores occur on the face and hands. They begin as a papule, that is small acne, and finally they become nodule-like structure, and they are transformed into ulcer-like structure. So this stage is known as oriental sore, formation of sore-like structure. So margin is raised, painless, and lesions up to 0.52 centimeter to 3 centimeter, and treatment is same as visceral leishmaniasis. Now, this was all about the leishmania. Now, second genus is Giardia duodenalis. Yesterday, I told you that the species name, specific name, has been changed, and it was earlier it was named as Giardia intestinalis. Now it is known as Giardia duodenalis. This is the picture of Giardia duodenalis, and it is the early protozoan parasite, and it was first of all discovered by a Dutch scientist, Antony von Leeuwenhoek, and the name Giardia, it was given after Giard of Pains, and earlier a species connected with this genera was Lamblia, and Lamblia was named after Lambier of Prague, and which gave a detailed literature about this parasite. So this is one of the most common protozoan pathogen, and which having a worldwide distribution. This is very endemic in those areas having low sanitation, especially in country like India, tropic and subtropics, and you know that more than 40 species of Giardia have been described, but only 5 is there, as you can see that Giardia duodenalis, Giardia intestinalis, Lamblia, these all species are synonyms. Muris from mammals, Giardia radi and Cytoside from bird, and Azalis from amphibians. So these are different 5 valid species. Now habitat, parasite is found in the jejunum, upper jejunum and duodenum, and it is only the protozoan parasite found in lumen of human small intestine. And the morphology, if you can you can see here that parasite is found in the 2 forms. One is feeding stage or vegetative form. This is trophozoite stage, and a second stage is cyst. So cyst is infective stage, cystic form, and trophozoite stage. You can see this is trophozoite stage. This one, and you can see here this is a racket-like structure. Tennis racket, heart-shaped, pyriform, and rounded anteriorly and pointed posteriorly, and there is a sucking disc, and this concave sucking disc is present on the one side of the, that is ventral side, and it is convex. Ventral side there is a sucking disc, but dorsal side is convex, so it forms a sucking disc, and with the help of sucking disc it gets attached with the intestinal wall. So it has bilateral symmetrical condition, and it possesses 1 pair of nuclei, 4 pair of flagella, blepharoplast, from which flagella arise, and the 4 pair, 1 pair of exostyle is there, and 2 saucer-shaped parabasal body is there posterior to sucking disc. Now cyst is there. Cyst is it is round, small oval shaped structure, and this is infective stage of the parasite. And you can see that it has 2 pair of nuclei, and exostyle is present, also remains of the flagella also there, and sometimes sucking disc may be present. But these are the infective stages of the parasite. Now life cycle, Giardia passes its life cycle in 1 dose, and infective form, as you know, mature cyst, a mode of transmission, that is man acquired infection by ingestion of cyst in the contaminated food and water. And can see that unfavorable condition assessment of the this parasite take place in the colon region, and cysts are passed in the stool, and finally they enter in the swell, and after sometimes these all cysts are mixed with the water. They can the water, drinking water is polluted by these cysts as well as food. So infection of this parasite take place by the contaminated food and water. So pathogenicity and clinical features are very important to think about this parasite, and there is a major difference between infection caused by amoebic dysentery, that is Entamoeba histolytica, and Giardia duodenalis, is that this parasite does not invade the tissues of the intestinal mucosa. So there is no bleeding in case of giardiasis, because parasite does not invade inside the tissues of the intestine, and it remain tightly adhered to intestinal epithelium with the help of sucking disc. So there is a sucking disc in the parasite, and due to this disc, it gets attached with the internal side of the intestine, and you can see that it may cause some complications. For example, villous architecture by cell apoptosis, that is cell death, and increased lymphatic infiltration of lamina propria. Now here you can see that it also it also causes some very important symptoms, clinical features such as diarrhea and fat malabsorption, epigastric pain, and flatulence. These are all symptoms. So you can see that stool contain excess mucus and fat, but no blood, because parasite does not invade inside the tissues as in case of amoebic dysentery. So amoebic, in case of amoebic dysentery, there is an invasion of the parasite inside the intestinal mucosa. So there is a presence of blood in the stool. This is the marked difference between between the infection of these two parasites. So that sometimes Giardia may colonize in the gallbladder, and it may cause jaundice because there is a blockage of the bile duct. So jaundice occur. Incubation period is variable, but may be up to considered that it is of 2 weeks. Now laboratory diagnosis of Giardia, that is first, number one is stool examination by microscopic examination, and intro test. There is a string test, there is a capsule which is consumed by the patient, and there is a string become attached with this capsule, and finally when it comes out through the stool, then it is detected that the infection of giardiasis or infection Giardia or infection of Entamoeba. Now serological test is there for the laboratory diagnosis, antigen detection and antibody detection. ELISA molecular diagnosis is done by the DNA probe and polymerase chain reaction. Now treatment. If you focus on the treatment, then about metronidazole can be given. It is more than 90%, but tinidazole is much effective in comparison to metronidazole. And some other drugs are also given. For example, some drugs, furisodone, this drug can be given to the children. And parmomycin, this is oral aminoglycoside, and you can see it is given in the pregnant female. So this is all about for the this parasite. And now next, yes, this is ankylostoma and trichomania. So yes, Ankylostoma and Trichinella. These parasites are nematodes, and you can see that nematode means what? This is the body of female nematode, and male is this is. So what is the difference? Posterior end of the male is curved and it carries CT and some copulatory structure, but posterior end of the female is straight. But in case of Ankylostoma, this is the structure of Ankylostoma duodenum or hookworm. So hookworm means, here you can see this is copulatory bursa. So there is a marked sexual dimorphism in this parasite, because male nematode can be identified by the presence of this copulatory bursa, that is fine-like structure, this one, posterior end of male, but it is absent in female. And you can see these parasites are known as hookworm. So these parasites remain, this is tissue. So we are cutting teeth. So anterior end of the parasite, it is just hook-like. Therefore, these parasites are commonly known as hookworm. And why it is? This is an adaptation for the firm attachment to the tissues of the host. So this is an adaptation. But marked sexual dimorphism is there because you can identify easily by observing the slide. Externally, you can differentiate male from female. So these parasites belong to Strongyloidea, and it is characterized by the presence of a broad copulatory bursa in male, which is supported by some fleshy rays. Bursa is supported by a fleshy rays. So these parasites have direct life cycle because there is no intermediate host in the life cycle. So they are commonly known as hookworm, as you know, thread-like sanguivorous, blood-sucking habit, and these are found in human being and domestic animal, and it lives in the small intestine of human being. They get attached with the mucosa and feeds on blood and tissue fluid. There are two species, Ankylostoma duodenale and Necator americanus, this one. So Ankylostoma duodenale is known as Old World hookworm because this parasite is found in the Asia, China, India, Southeast Asia, all in these all countries. But Necator americanus is known as New World hookworm, so it is found in on that side, that is the New World, that is North America and South America. So this, let's some important point regarding history. It was discovered by Italian physicists. Physicists discovered this nematode. Angelo Dubina. And after some time, worm and diseases, there is a relation in worms and diseases. It was established by Wilhelm Reisinger in 1854. Eduardo Perencito established the factual connection in the parasite and disease, and finally entry of the worm in the human body was discovered by Loss. 1898 बहुत सारा literature इनका मिलता है. When you will work, when you will explore some abstract journals, Losses का बहुत सारे reviews आप पढ़ेंगे. Now geographical distribution is there. Here you can see in the map that prevalence of foodborne infection is worldwide. Largely distributed in the tropical and subtropical region of the world, especially those areas where humidity and temperature are favorable for the development of Ankylostoma duodenale. And you can see it is reported from India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Egypt, Pacific Island, North Africa, China, and this one entire South America. So this parasite is worldwide in distribution. In India, Punjab, Haryana, and Himachal are affected with the infection of Ankylostoma duodenale and hookworm disease, Ankylostomiasis. Characteristic feature of the parasite that these are elongated, cylindrical, cylinder worm, grayish white, and anterior end of the worm is bent slightly, right, on the dorsal side. So therefore it is known as, these all parasites are considered as, the name is important, hookworm. Buccal capsule is there, and it is the part of the intestine, and buccal capsule is provided with 6 teeth in Ankylostoma, not in Necator. In Ankylostoma it is provided with 6 teeth. 4 teeth are hook-like, present on the ventral side, whereas the 2 teeth present on the dorsal side. They are non-blind. Cervical papillae, these are important structures. Cervical papillae present, these are finger-like, and these are little away from the anterior extremity on each side of the body. Now cephalic gland is there because a small esophageal gland and 2 pear-shaped cervical gland. So these glands are present in these animals, and they help in the penetration of the parasite inside the tissues of the host. Now you can see that the secretion of the esophageal gland prevents the clotting of the ingested blood. Sexual dimorphism there, as I have told you, the presence of bursa in case of male is very important structure. So characteristic feature is that the bursa is in invagination of the body wall around the genital aperture, supported by 13 rays. There are 2 protrusible spicule which helps in sperm transmission during copulation, and male Ankylostoma contain a single opening, that is cloaca. For both the system, what is the difference between cloaca and anus? What is the difference between cloaca and anus?
Cloaca is a common opening where
Common opening of?
for reproductive and for digestive system.
Yes. And anus is there, that is the direct opening of alimentary canal. One is mouth and another is anus, but when the genital duct and digestive tract both are united, then this common opening is known as cloaca. Very right. So now this is the difference between Ankylostoma duodenale and Necator americana. Here you can see clear-cut difference between these 2 species. On that side you can see that in case of Ankylostoma duodenale, there are 6 teeth in the buccal capsule, but in case of Nectar americanus, here you can see 4 chitinous cutting plate. It is characterized by the presence of 4 chitinous cutting plate. Ankylostoma duodenale, here you can see copulatory bursa is there, and here dorsal ray split at the tip. But here you can see this one dorsal ray, but in case of Nectar, dorsal ray splits from the base. Spicules free, but here these two spicules are fused. There is a marked difference. And here you can see also structure, but you can here the table, you can see in the table the size large and thick in case of Ankylostoma, old word, but if they are smaller and more cylinder in Nectar, that is new word. Bending of individual, something different, that is bend in the same direction of the body curvature, and it bends in the opposite direction of body curvature. Buccal capsule 6 teeth, as you know, chitinous cutting plate. There is a difference of presence of teeth and cutting plate. Cutting plates are present in Nectar americanus, but teeth are found in the Ankylostoma. Copulatory bursa is there, as I have told you. Then posterior end of the female form, spine bearing in case of Ankylostoma, but no spine in female. In Nectar, vulva open, that is behind the middle of the body, and in Nectar it is in front of middle of the body. So these are the some differences between these two species, and both are hook-borne. But one species that is Ankylostoma duodenale, it is found in Old World side, and Nectar americanus is found in New World side. This is life cycle and basic development, which is monogenetic parasite, and it completes its entire life cycle in single host, and that is human being. And population occurs in the intestine of the human being, then fertilization take place, and it occurs inside the seminal receptacle of female, is a part of the female reproductive system. And now fertilized eggs, these are elliptical, colorless, surrounded by shell, because they can be identified in the stool of the infected person. They contain segmented ovum, and there is a clear space between ovum and shell membrane. Now, life cycle development of female single parasite can lay about 10 to 20,000 eggs per day. So you can see the degree of level of infectivity in the host. And these eggs are passed out from the human body along with the fecal matter, and these are not ineffective. This is not the effective stage. And finally, hatching of the larvae from the eggs take place, and it depends on some environmental conditions. For example, there is a temperature of 27 degrees centigrade. There should be moist soil should be moist, and optimum conditions, for example, sufficient oxygen should be there. So in adverse condition, development of eggs does not take place. So development of larva occur in soil. First stage larva, newly hatched larva from the egg, it is known as rhabditiform larva. And rhabditiform larva is also known as first juvenile stage. This is first stage L1 level, that is larva number 1. So this is rhabditiform larva, and it has similarity from rhabdititis, therefore it is a rhabditiform larva, and it contains a rounded inferior end and a sharp caudal end. It is very highly active larva, and it feeds on the bacteria present in the fecal matter and organic matter present in the soil. So this is a feeding stage of the parasite. This larva is feeding. Second stage, molting take place, and first molting take place on third day, leading to the formation of second juvenile stage. And now third stage, larva is there, and second molt occurs on the fifth day, and esophageal bulb disappear, shedding cuticle retained as the protective sheet, and this larva is known as filariform larva or third juvenile stage, that is L3. And this L3 or third juvenile stage is ineffective stage, because how it get entered inside the new host, you know that it stop feeding, that is non-feeding stage, filariform larva, but one important thing is that it does not grow further, and it enters inside the human being. How? That is a process, and this is known as creeping eruption. Creeping eruption is another process, and the larva boards directly through the skin or indirectly through the hair follicles, and finally it enters inside the blood circulation. First of all inside the tissues, later on it enters in the blood circulation, and when it enters inside the blood circulation, you can see here that this is the third stage. This is the third stage juvenile filariform larva, also known as strongyliform, but you can see filariform larva is the more common name. And infection by skin penetration, this is known as creeping eruption. जब कभी भी पैर कभी पड़ा तो क्या होता है, लार्वा it enters inside the soft tissues between fingers, that is toes, between the soft area between two fingers, so that it become active and it become erect and enters inside the tissue, because there are some penetration gland inside the mouth, and by using these all enzymes it dissolves some tissues of the foot, and it enters inside the tissues, then finally lymphatics, then veins, heart, lungs, alveoli, trachea, esophagus, and finally small intestine, which is the habitat of the parasite. So here you can see this is a picture telling the life cycle of Ankylostoma duodecima. Now mode of infection, you can see here that the infection generally takes place when man walks barefooted. घर में कहते हैं ना नंगे पैर मत जाओ, barefooted on the soil contaminated with fecal matter, right? And these are all the pictures, shows the injury caused by the penetration of the filariform larva inside the tissue. Here you can see this one. This is creeping eruption. This one creeping eruption. So these are all picture shows the active penetration of the filariform larva inside the tissues, and this condition is known as creeping eruption. Now pathogenicity. Larva causes ground itch. When the filariform larvae enter the skin, they cause severe local itching. And sometimes these such type of infection is more common with nectar than the Ankylostoma. Creeping eruption, that is cutaneous, also known as cutaneous larva migrans. Creeping eruption. And what is the condition of creeping eruption? That it is a condition in which the filariform larva wander about the skin and produce a reddish itchy papule along the path traversed by them. For example, in previous slide you can see this is the picture, shows the important pathway of the filariform larva, and it is the condition of the creeping eruption or cutaneous larval migrans. Now respiratory manifestations that it occurs when the larva when larvae breaks out in the pulmonary capillaries, they enter inside the lungs. Now adult worm is responsible for hookworm disease, and you know it sucks blood leading to microcytic hypochromic anemia, and these are all symptoms these are present in the patient suffering with the ankylostomiasis. Now diagnosis, if you go through the slide, then you will find that there are two methods: direct method and indirect method. Direct method is that demonstration of eggs, अंडे पाए गए, then infection is there, infection in ankylostoma का, and demonstration of adult. If adult are there, adult are found in the inside the fecal matter, then infection is there. Stool culture, then indirect method, blood examination, severe anemia, hypochromic anemia and histophilia. Stool examination, presence of some important crystals inside the stool. Then chest X-ray, parasites are present inside the lungs, so they can be detected and these are diagnosed. Now treatment. Mebendazole is the
ट्रीटमेंट क्या है?
किसका?
सर अभी आपने पीछे एक एग्जांपल
कौन सा?
स्टूल कल्चर में हार्डामोरी मेथड.
हार्डामोर, ये एक्चुअली में क्या होता है ना, ये केमिकल से क्या करते हैं, स्टूल का कल्चर किया जाता है अलग से, तो मिक्स करते हैं, तो अगर एंटीजन, इफ देयर इज एंटीजन इन द स्टूल, then we will react and it will produce a different type of color. So presence of color shows the infection, and we can diagnose that there is a parasite inside the body of the patient. So this is the method or test. Here treatment, mebendazole is drug of choice, and another drug, that is parental palmoate, a broad spectrum drug is there, and many drugs are there, ibendazole and tetramycin, these are drugs. Prophylaxis, that is prevention of soil pollution with fecal matter, proper disposal of night soil, and use of footwear which can prevent the entry of the larva inside the body of the human being, right? And gloves is there because they may protect the body of animal as human being. Treatment of patient and carrier, they can limit the source of the infection. So this is all about ankylostoma duodenale. Now next parasite is Trichinella spidalis or Trichina worm. So should we start? Within 10 minutes I will complete. Within 10 minutes. It would take, I think, 10 minutes. जल्दी क्यों? 10 minutes. बहुत So what can be done?
रिवीजन के लिए भी होना चाहिए ना, फिर
Oh, right. So I think tomorrow.
Yes,
Okay. So I think so remaining lecture will be on tomorrow is Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay.